Alright guys, Tactical Rabbit here, and I'm joined today for the very first time by a very special guest, everyone's favourite Bravo boy. It's Chris Tunn joining me today.
Screw that dirt guy.
I don't know if I'm going to call this the Blackbird podcast or what it's going to be, but I've had this name for a while and had this logo made, so I thought I'd chuck it on the video regardless. Today we're going to talk about Control. The rule set was announced a couple of days ago, and I did a big video yesterday on everything to do with the rule set, but I didn't go into depth on Control. Me and Chris did a video a couple of weeks ago now on the best of the rest after Rostermania, so if you want to check that out, I'll link that down in the description box below with all of the social media stuff related to Chris. You can see his @ on screen. Actually, he's actually pointing right at it right now. So that's superb stuff. So yeah, today we want to talk about Control. It's been confirmed as the third official game mode for the season. And what are your initial thoughts, Chris?
Initially, when they first talked about it, and I know that we played it in the beta, I was a little bit skeptical. But the more that I play the game, the more I think that it's going to develop into a mode that might be the fan favorite, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one way to look at it. So of course they announced it yesterday. CTF has gone, like straight up gone. And what I'm intrigued about this is like, did the pros get consulted on this issue? Maybe you know more than me. But it's like, it seems kind of a similar situation to Hardpoint in Black Ops 2, where it's like, we've come up with this game mode, we're just going to chuck it into the competitive system. In Black Ops 2, it worked out, right? So...
I know that they played it when they had their play test after season 1? No, but whenever they played it, when they were all in Columbus. And I know that they said they liked it. I didn't know that until obviously the beta was out, and then we were playing it, and I remember speaking to a couple of guys, and it was primarily Ray that I spoke to, and he said, how did we play it? And we all really liked it. So, I mean, that's probably given them an impression that they can put it forward into competitive. And as far as CTF's concerned, from my point of view, it was dying. It has been since Black Ops 2. It was easily the worst game mode last year, and fair enough, World War 2 probably wasn't the best game for it. It was pretty slow-paced for the most part. But coming into this game, I think, for me, moving CTF out is the right choice because of, let's just say, for instance, on World War 2, we were playing 4v4 on Ardennes Forest. It was a pretty low-scoring map in general. CTF was a pretty low-scoring game, full stop. You add another 2 people onto the map to slow that down, it becomes even more low-scoring. And suddenly, you've got a game mode that could potentially be very stale, and I think Control is the complete opposite of that. So I'm excited for it.
I see your point on CTF about the 5. I think in World War 2, if you had 5v5, it would have played like you say. But I think in this game, I think maybe in this game, with the speed and the trading, it could have worked better. But to be honest, I'm not convinced. Like, I liked it to some extent, but I don't mind a change. I'm just kind of intrigued that Control seems like a mix of Hardpoint and Search to some extent. But then again, like, you played Hardpoint map 1, really fast-paced, really exciting. S&D completely slowed the pace. And then the fact that you had CTF next on was usually played on Forest. And it was, again, pretty dull, right, for the most part, unless you were really into that. So I understand the move away. It's just interesting they went for Control rather than, I don't know, Domination could have come into the mix.
Domination's one of them ones that's never worked fantastically as a competitive game mode. In the past, when we played it, I think it was in Modern Warfare 3 that I last played it competitively, which was probably my last competitive game I played. So I think the thing is with that is that people would set up with a 2 cap, and it was basically whoever got the middle flag first won, because you would just camp it. And
it'd just be really slow.
There's nothing that much entertaining about it unless the maps were perfect for it, where you couldn't camp on the flag and stuff like that. And I don't know. There was also the difficulty of having to work out how many more points that they had to get, or if it was possible to. Yeah,
you had to have a maths degree to even watch it, didn't you? Like,
I mean, it wasn't too difficult to work it out, but when you're on broadcast commentating it or you're playing it, it's one of them things you've got to work out on the fly. And then if we're struggling to work it out, how are viewers who haven't really watched much COD gonna fare? You know what I mean? They're like, have they won? I don't know. They're just trusting in us. So I think it's one of them game modes that was never that easy to use competitively.
Yeah. I think it makes sense in terms of like, they want to align the casual and the competitive scene. It's clear from what they've done with the rule set. It's clear from going 5v5. And Control seems to be a game mode that's kind of liked in the casual scene. I don't know. The thing is, we don't know anymore because we can't see the percentages that people are playing, right? I don't think you can. Back in the day, we would have been able to tell. But can tell that people, like 2% of people are playing Hardpoint or whatever back in Black Ops 2. But, maybe there's a chance. So we'll go on to talk about at least what I see as the problems right now, because when I watch it being played competitively, or I was watching some scrims last night, it seems to be really defense heavy in its current form. Yes. And it's a pretty obvious thing. It's super hard to win an offense. So the problems with this really are that, okay, something like CSGO, doesn't matter if a map's T or CT sided, say, because after 15 rounds, all the roles are reset. But when you have a situation where you can build up kill streaks on the preferred side, this is what we'd see in CTF a lot, right? Like if you get good side on Ardennes Forest, you can get streaks and then you have an advantage that you didn't really earn. And I think being defense sided, as we see right now in Control, that's potentially an issue. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I haven't really thought about that from the streaks perspective. I think that my only sort of caveat for this is the fact that if defense is a lot easier to do, if you're winning an attack, then you've really earned that point. So then, this brings into a whole other argument: is what do you do if it goes to 2-2? Which
we can get into that. Loads
of options, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But it's one of them things where if you are winning your attacking rounds, then it's obviously a huge advantage if you go on to do that, and then you can probably close out the game. But I understand what you mean, though. So if somebody's got defense first, they can build up streaks. It makes their attack inevitably easier.
Yeah.
Maybe something could be introduced where you are not being rewarded for how well you defended. Maybe a score streak reset at the end of each round.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like
fixes it pretty much straight away.
For CTF last year, that's what I would have liked to see. Like the streaks reset at halftime. But considering the rounds are kind of shorter, I don't know if you can really do that. I think I'd prefer them to try and make some tweaks to make it easier for the attack. I've just come up with a few ideas, so I'll just throw them out there and see what you think. So one of the options is, as I see it, in the current state, the reason why it's so defense heavy is that they spawn closer to the objectives and they only have to hold one. Like if defense get the first wave, they can push up really far and just kill whore basically. Which I think is kind of a stupid mechanic in a competitive game mode. The fact, what I really like about Hardpoint is that the lower tier teams, there are such things as useless kills, You can push out too far, you can make them spawn behind you. But in Control, you never have that problem. Every kill is important to an extent. And defense definitely has an easier time of it. So I'm thinking, option one is that you reduce the amount of lives that the defense can have to some extent to balance it in some way. Or you give the offense some sort of advantage, or you give them some sort of advantage for capping one out of the two. It feels like right now the defense has no real incentive to hold on to both, which would be nice to see.
Yeah, I understand what you mean there. My one counter argument to because a lot of people are saying, the defense gets one wave of kills and that's the round over. I suppose the thing is the defense have to spread themselves over two. For the most part, if they want to keep two, of course. And they are inevitably, that's what people are probably going to do. There is going to be certain maps where, as the meta does develop, people are going to just give up sites and 5-man one site straight away.
Yeah.
And then the other team have got a 5-man to get in there. So I think there's going to be times, though, especially before people start to figure it out, where everybody is sort of spread. So that 5 down isn't going to happen from either team at the beginning of a round for the most part. At the start, but I understand what you mean. If it does develop to the point of where people are only having to push one bomb site,
exactly.
Capture sites,
something like that. I just call it a hill, really, because just so you saw our point.
Yeah. So it could get to that point where people are sort of just 5-manning. For instance, A on Seaside is not too difficult to hold because it's small choke.
It's a really weird map that I don't like the fact that. The control points are spread out to some extent. It'd be much nicer if the attack had 2 options which it goes to. Sometimes you do see them going towards A, but the defense, when I watched the scrims yesterday, they would just 5-man hit the B objective. There was no reason for them to try and defend A, because if you get control of B, you have indirect control of A as well. So I don't think maps like that work very well. But anyway, one other quick idea I had was that when you capture the control points, it moves up, you have 3 different sections to cap, right? I was thinking if you just increase that to more, say you had 5 or something like that, then it would be, it would give offense just a little bit more of an advantage that maybe they need. I don't know, maybe that's an idea.
What would you mean? So there's more
Yeah, so like, you know, when you capture an objective, you have to capture like a third of it, and then like the defense can't make it go back any further than that. If you just had like a couple more in there, then maybe
so that their advantage actually counted.
Yeah, their advantage would be, I don't know, something like that.
Potentially. I did personally think about giving the attackers more lives. I thought about that one before the rule set was all announced, and I sort of already knew Control was coming in anyway. I was thinking about that one. But then I was talking to some pros about it, and they said, but then attackers can just literally trade kills. Or whoever has more lives can literally just trade kills.
Yeah, they can just run around. Like, they can just run around as a 5-man. They don't even have to play the objective anymore.
Because then if they just trade, they've got more lives already. So that's... I see the point with that one, but I still think it'd be something that...
I know what you mean, yeah.
One of the good things, maybe on a bit of a tangent here, one of the good things that I noticed from the rule set announcement was the fact that they mentioned that some things can be changed in competitive power-wise as opposed to just publics. Which, so for me, defeats the point of the whole trying to meet in the middle. But
well,
at the same
exactly,
time,
it would be nice.
At the same time, that means that they can maybe change things specifically for competitive, obviously. And it sounds like they're open to do that. I don't know if I've read into this wrong, but for me, that's positive, and that means that they could definitely
for sure
with this sort of thing. So I'm interested to see what they do with Control, and it is a new thing, so everyone's going to have to try different things, and we will see how it plays out. I mean, we'll know by Vegas, at the end of Vegas at least, if it's good to watch. If there's certain metas developing throughout it. I had a good conversation with Chance on our podcast every Wednesday with Brycey. That
Spitfire, baby. I'll plug it in. I'll plug it in the description. It is quality. Like, if people haven't been watching it, man.
Thank you.
Jesus.
But we were talking about that, and he said that as people learn it more, though, it's just going to develop onwards, and like as people learn to play it more, become more interesting, and as the year goes on, the meta constantly develop, which is one of the main reasons I'm looking forward to it, because you just sort of never know what people are going to do. There's different tactics where, there's so many different things people could come up with to win.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
I
like the optimism.
It's interesting. I'm trying to be. I think I just like how interesting it's going to actually be.
Yeah, for sure. That actually is a good point. Like, okay, so let's move on to the problem with the overtime situation. We touched on it earlier about the 2-2 situation. What do we do right now? Because we talked about it being defense heavy. In the current state, like, okay, so typically the way it works is whoever picks the map, the opponent gets to pick the side. So, the opponent would pick defense first. You play 4 rounds. Say it goes as expected. Defense wins every round. The 5th round, as it currently stands, you just continue swapping, and the defense takes over that frame. Yes. So it's not looking so good for the offense in that circumstance. Yeah. And we have to figure out some sort of solution what we do here. So I don't know if you have any initial ideas.
So one thing I wanted to touch on that somebody said, in CS there is certain maps where, yes, okay, you've got a lot more rounds to play with, so it makes it more balanced, if you like. But there is rounds where T-side is easier than CTs and that sort of thing, which works out fine if you're playing different maps in web play. Say if you play Control 3 times, and then you got a choice each, and then a random one got drawn for the 5th or something like that. Then it's different, because then you have the opportunity to use your better map, or use a map where you can select the side to be the stronger side. That would be okay, but the fact that we have to play it once,
it's just once,
we have to get it right. My first thought was, well, should it come down to more kills, or kills shouldn't really be involved? I think if you're going to make a decision on who gets a side, if you are going to make it a decision-based thing, we go to the 5th and final round, that's it, then I think it should be based on capture points or thirds captured. You should maybe get points.
Oh, that's a good point.
Each capture.
Each section of the capture, right? Yeah. Like, because each third.
That encourages people to have to be aggressive, and you have to make sure you're trying to capture something rather than just try to
play for kills, yeah.
And it means the defense really have to protect it, because if they lose a third, it could mean that you don't get defense for the 5th. So you need to make sure that you're holding that down. It could maybe make it a little bit more campy, but it could I think it'll take away from people trying to spawn camp or just trying to move up the map and slay out, because if somebody slips past, then suddenly they get a third, and that third could mean that you end up having to attack on your 5th round. That's one of them. There was a couple on Twitter I've seen. I don't want to try and take them for myself. There was some people suggested putting one in the middle and you fight for it, which is what Demolition.
Yeah, like demo. That'd be fun, maybe.
I think it would be fun, but I don't know how much I like it because I don't know how much they've implemented. They would have to make sure it's
bang
in the middle of the map. And don't get me wrong, it would be absolute chaos and it'd be great, but those sort of things can go on forever. And then and then with this middle capture point, there'll probably be an easier side to get it from.
Yeah, that's true. And then you've got more issues.
So then you go and delve into the whole, we got that side argument again. I'm going to start breathing while I'm talking. And then the one that I liked the most was the idea of then you have to, so say you go to 2-2, you then have to try and capture both points or capture as much of the point as quick as you can. So say for instance, you went and you captured 1 point and then you didn't get the other and the time ran out. Then you would get points for capturing that other point.
Yeah, okay.
And then the enemy team has to do better. So like CTF where you capture a flag and then...
you have some sort of overtime in that sense. I mean, there definitely needs to be something like that.
But then you would have to make sure you develop it to the point of where people are still getting sort of paid for their advantages. So say if you manage to get nothing and the enemy team capture one, the enemy team who captured one should definitely get the win. They shouldn't have to capture both points to get the round win, or we would literally be there forever.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is that for a lot of these to work, so many things have to be implemented, and we just don't know what position Treyarch are in to do that and how willing they are to change it up. So that's another difficulty, but it's hard because there definitely needs to be something where you're rewarded with the easier round for doing better, or is at least a fair situation that you have to fight for to make sure you win back.
I think those are some really good ideas. I haven't seen all of those on Twitter. I think you've done a cracking job there. I think Treyarch should pay close attention. So anyway, before we close, I just want to talk about what's going on towards the next game, because when we look at Hardpoint from Black Ops 2, we go into Ghosts, Hardpoint's not there, we have to play different modes. What are the chances of Infinity Ward bringing back control in Modern Warfare 4, etc.?
I mean...
Pretty slim.
I want to answer the question at the end of the game, depending how much we like it.
Yeah.
Because obviously if it's great and they see that everyone loves it, then they're going to put it in, aren't they?
I mean, did Hard... See, that's what I'm intrigued about.
I have no idea why.
Yeah, why was Hardpoint... I didn't really follow the scene that closely at the time, so I can't give a good answer. But I'm intrigued why that wasn't the case.
I would think now is more sort of the time where they will sort of pay attention, not be necessarily sort of to how good Hardpoint was in Black Ops 2, which is what I think maybe happened. Maybe they're like, that's their game mode. So
yeah.
I think they need to look.
They wanted their own game modes, bring in the Blitz,
Yeah. Anyway, besides the point, but I think that I think that they should. Whether they do or not is another question, of course. But if that doesn't happen and we get CTF back, then I don't know. But there needs to be some consistency. There really does.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna bring control in and CTF complete the game, you need to because if we keep flipping between control and CTF, it just doesn't create that consistency that you really do want to remain in the scene.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Call of Duty has enough change in year on year as it is, right? A whole new game, all the new maps, all the new weapons, etc., etc. At least having some consistency in the modes would be nice. But of course, we want good modes as well at the same time. So anyway, thanks a lot to Chris for coming on the show today. I'm sure we'll talk about some more stuff down the line in the future. So if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, check out all the links in the description to his social media and the EGL channel, all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.